Injuries are part of the game. Pretty much any game. It's expected that in any sport, from football to darts, there will be some rate of attrition caused by injury. As fans, that's something we've come to expect. It's something we can live with. Well, as long as that injury happens on the field, in between the sidelines. Oh my God. It's when the harm takes place off the field that it truly becomes a story. The fact that we didn't see it with our own eyes lends the incident to mystery, skepticism, and conspiracy, or sometimes a good old-fashioned face-palming. Today we're breaking down 8 of the oddest self-inflicted injuries in sports. From the bizarre to the stupid, here's a painful history of the strangest ways that athletes have mangled themselves on their own time. And that's coming up right after this.
I'm kind of retarded.
Some people are so interesting that we say, I'd listen to them read the phone book.
So are the days of our Steelers.
Well, the most interesting thing about former Brewers pitcher Steve Sparks is that he managed to injure himself while attempting to tear a phone book in half. Spring training 1994, Sparks witnessed a team-sponsored motivational group called Radical Reality perform strange, impressive feats like bending metal with their teeth, blowing up hot water bottles, and tearing a phone book in half. My turn, said Sparks. He was cheered on by calls of Sparks, 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 and the knuckleballer gave it a shot. It tore all right, tore his left shoulder, and the 8-year minor leaguer landed himself back on the bus, delaying his major league debut by another year and a half. And that's why we don't use phone books anymore. As the first successor to John Elway in Denver, Brian Griese had some big shoes to fill. And apparently walking in those shoes was difficult, and he fell down Terrell Davis's driveway, knocked himself unconscious, and chipped his tooth. Back in 2002, Griese was at the former MVP running back's house partying when he sacked himself and ended up in the hospital with 7 stitches in his face. If that's not enough, a few months later, Griese claimed that he injured his ankle tripping over his dog prior to a game against the Ravens. We get it, Brian. No one wanted to play that Ravens defense, but do you have to blame the dog? Whether it was the bizarre injuries or maybe just the way he covered them up, the Broncos moved on from Griese, who has since landed on his feet as a successful broadcaster for ESPN. All-time stolen base leader Rickey Henderson was always hot on the base pass.
But today, I'm the greatest of all time.
But there was one time he ended up on a really bad cold streak. While playing with the Toronto Blue Jays in 1993, Henderson placed an ice pack on his foot to deal with a little soreness, and for his trouble, ended up with frostbite. How does that happen, you ask? Well, Rickey fell asleep with the ice pack still on, and like Leo in Titanic, was frozen stiff. He kept the foot and continued to use it to steal bags, but it did cause him to miss 3 games. Stay hot, Rickey. Imagine surviving speeds of over 200 miles per hour in a race car only to be the victim of a golf cart. NASCAR great Jimmy Johnson was sprawled across the top of a golf cart when his driver took a sharp left turn. He should be used to those. Johnson fell off and used his wrist to break the fall. While it was probably the second most exciting thing to happen on a golf course this side of Tiger Woods' Masters win, it kept Johnson from driving for a solid month. And while there's no proof, it wouldn't be too surprising if the other Jimmy Johnson injured himself in some kind of flammable hairspray incident. The lesson here? Don't drink and kart. For Rockies shortstop Clint Barmes, sometimes it's easier to haze yourself as a rookie. Gifted some deer meat by all-star first baseman Todd Helton, the Rocks' rook Barmes slung some dead deer over his shoulder and promptly fell down some stairs, as one does. Unfortunately, he landed on his collarbone. No word on how the deer took the fall. Barmes, who was a leading candidate for NL Rookie of the Year, was sidelined for 3 months. Initially, he told reporters that he had hurt himself in an ATV accident, not wanting to bring Helton into the situation. But the truth came out and Barmes became known for being on the wrong end of some posthumous revenge. Still, he was more durable than Troy Tulowitzki. There are some strange pregame rituals. Football players like to butt each other helmet to helmet. John Henderson preferred a nice slap to the face, and Jim Kelly blew chunks before each game. But none of that compares to boxer Dan Caruso, not to be confused with All-Valley Karate champion Daniel LaRusso. Before a fight in 1992, Caruso decided to psych himself up by punching himself in the face, which ultimately backfired when he broke his own nose and was disqualified. Whether Ed Norton's self-flogging in Fight Club was inspired by Caruso's friendly fire is up for debate, but it should definitely go down as the quickest knockout of all time. Bob Ojeda was best known for being a key part of the World Series champ '86 Mets that included Darryl Strawberry and Lenny Dykstra. But while the left-handed pitcher had his ring finger adorned with that World Series jewelry, his index finger was not so lucky. In 1988, Ojeda was doing some gardening with an electric hedge trimmer when he lost control of it and so too lost the tip of his index finger. Luckily, Ojeda was able to undergo microsurgery and have the nerves reattached quickly enough to regain feeling in his finger by the start of the '89 season. However, he never quite regained his form after the accident and was exiled to the bullpen for the remainder of his career. No word on whether he finished trimming the hedges. One could argue that having all 10 toes is a prerequisite for being a soccer player. The English footballer Darius Vassell nearly put that theory to the test in 2002 when he tried to use a drill to heal his swollen toe.
They shot me in the bunion, man.
Yes, I said that right. Don't adjust your television sets. Vassell drilled into his big toe in an attempt to drain out the blood that had caused it to swell. It goes without saying, but do not try this at home. Instead of pulling off the successful home surgery like Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men, Vassell obviously made things much worse and infected the nail, which then had to be replaced professionally. He only missed 3 games, but that Black & Decker warranty is never coming back. Between some especially heavy deer meat, an electric trimmer, and one's own fist, it could be argued that there are more ways for an athlete to injure themselves off the field than on it. These 8 athletes have done nothing to eliminate the dumb jock stereotype, but they have kept emergency rooms busy, and for that, the taxpayers thank them. As quoted before, the world is a dangerous place, and even more so if you choose to inhabit it as a moron. But it doesn't have to be a Final Destination movie if you pay even the slightest bit of attention. So let this be a lesson to all the future athletes not to burn themselves on a jewel, snap their ankle flossing, or fall off a cliff to get off a quick pic for IG. Keep the devastating injuries where they belong, on national television. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do not forget to comment and subscribe for more interesting videos on sports. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to the end of this video.